Mourinho himself said recently that there was a 99% chance that he would stay at Benfica when every news outlet in the world was saying that he would be next to take over at Real Madrid. 1% wins again, as they always do. Well, the world's fastest news aggregator and football influencer Fabrizio Romano has dropped the "Here we go," which on the internet is something even more truthful than truth. What could be more truthful than the truth, right? A "Here we go," of course, from this man.
King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center, over 10 years since its inception.
So what exactly are Real Madrid getting based on what me, a Benfica supporter, has seen since he took over at our club in September? We'll go over his performance, how Benfica played, and whether I think he would work at Real Madrid or not. Well, a mix. His time at Benfica was absolutely a mix, with an asterisk next to it, being that a lot of supporters give Mourinho a bit of benefit of the doubt given the mess that he inherited. This club has been a mess for a bit now. As I've spoken about on this channel before, Benfica is a club that feels as though it is being held back by those in the presidential and board seats. Rui Costa's track record when it comes to silverware is terrible. Just 2 of them, 2 pieces, 1 league title, 1 league cup title, and well, 2 super cups as well. But you guys know how I feel about super cups. I see them as bonus and slightly inferior to normal trophies. If at the end of the season, all that Benfica has won is a super cup, then it wasn't a good season, in my opinion. By the way, when I say that it's Rui Costa and his board members and staff that are holding the club back, it's also the fans, ultimately, because those who voted for Rui Costa to win another term can thank themselves for the lack of success in recent years. We get to watch Sporting and Porto lap us. Rui Costa and his fellas have spent a lot of money. They've made big money signings and won very little, as the squad has been constructed poorly season after season, and Mourinho's signing is looking more and more like an election prop than anything from this past autumn's election. So there is that aspect of things. Yes, that is an absolute concession. But the hope is that your manager will elevate the squad, and the fact is that Benfica's squad, I mean, it's not like our squad is super inferior to Sporting's and Porto's. I remember at the beginning of the season, some supporters claiming Benfica had the best squad. I don't know about that. I don't know how you can look at our center backs and not see that we have had an issue there for a while and that they would be there for the taking. But still, you would hope that Mourinho, with the career he had years ago, would be able to lift this squad and win something, right? I don't know that Benfica supporters really expected him to overtake Porto in the standings. Porto maintained a pretty strong level from the beginning and throughout the season of the Ferraioli, but we are playing in 4 competitions total. Maybe one of the domestic cups could be won. Unfortunately, in the span of 7 days, Benfica crashed out of both of Portugal's domestic cups, losing 1-0 away to Porto and losing 3-1 at home against Braga. Yes, 2 good sides, don't get me wrong. And yes, losing at the Dragão is never out of the question. But the 3-1 home loss to Braga was absolutely egregious from Mourinho and the boys. Fine, we're out of those cups. The mission then becomes survival in the Champions League for as long as possible because money, as well as Champions League qualification, again because money and prestige, meaning Benfica had to finish in at least 2nd place in the league, because 3rd, that's Europa League. Benfica's Champions League survival was as skin of the teeth as it can get and came down to a 1 in 100, I mean, maybe the odds aren't that low, but it came down to a freak goal, Trubin's header, which was unbelievable and my favorite memory of the season, absolutely. As well as Marseille absolutely crashing and burning when they thought they were pretty much safe to progress from the league phase, as did Club Brugge stadium staff, who congratulated Marseille on progressing alongside them. People were calling it a Mourinho masterclass in the Champions League. I don't know about that. He oversaw 7 of the Champions League matches, losing 4 and defeating a terrible Ajax, injury-riddled Napoli, and a Real Madrid that had just sacked their manager, and a lot of people were beating them. I mean, you still have to win the games, and Benfica did that. And the win over Real Madrid, I think Mourinho got his tactics spot on there. The team was really well prepped and exploited Real Madrid's weaknesses, so much so that there was hope for the knockout rounds when we were drawn against each other, but we were booted out of that competition, and deserved to be. We were not better than Real Madrid. Okay, so the mission turns to keeping 2nd, and Mourinho, and he failed there. It's cool to go undefeated, but only if there is something to show of it. Otherwise, who cares if you are undefeated? It's pointless. We're taking that undefeated record all the way to the Europa League, which hey, our chances of winning a trophy have increased compared to playing in the Champions League. But any sane football fan would take a loss or two here and there if that meant more wins and something to show for this season. But we were incredibly mid. Now again, there is a part of me that gives Mourinho the benefit of the doubt, given how poorly run Benfica has been in the Rui Costa age. For those that argue against it, look at our trophy cabinet since he took over. And that of our rivals as well. It's a shame. He was one of my favorite players of all time, Rui Costa, not Mourinho in his playing career. But I've separated the player from the president, as one must do, and Benfica's results under him as a president have spoken for themselves. Then there's the other part of me that thinks, well, the best managers lift a squad that was poor, and someone like Mourinho should be able to lift a squad that was poor. But for 3 years running, Benfica finished with 80 points now. He simply maintained what Bruno Lage had done before him. Now, Bruno Lage took over the season prior when Roger Schmidt was sacked the 24-25 season. And he did fairly well. He had Benfica finishing in second in the table in the 24-25 season, just 2 points off at the top. He improved Benfica and won them a cup, as well as he made the other cup final as well. He was in both cup finals. So overall, not bad. He actually had a higher points per match than Mourinho. Lage had 2.23 to 2.02 for Mourinho. So not huge margins. Goals per game, 1.91 for Mourinho, 2.45 for Bruno Lage, though Mourinho's defense was improved. Benfica conceded 66 in 66 matches with Lage. Mourinho conceded 39 in 45 matches. Not a lot has changed with Mourinho, as he would play in his typical style, which I'm sure was similar at Fenerbahce as well. Line up in a 4-2-3-1, sometimes 4-3-3. When we have possession against inferior opposition, we resemble a 3-2-5 with our fullbacks pushed way up the pitch. Against these teams, we would dominate the ball. Against equal to or stronger opposition, we're sitting back. We have less than 50% possession. We're playing a lot of balls to Pavlidis to try and control and pass to wide players and overlapping players, or catch someone like Rafa through the middle. There wasn't a lot of short, intricate passing and moving, a lot of relying on the directness from our wide guys like Sheldrup, who actually thrived under Mourinho to cause issues. We were absolutely a team that loved to attack in transition and absolutely struggled against teams that would sit deep. We would play it out from the back and then just have difficulty getting penetrating balls into the box. This is why in the Champions League now and then you would see Benfica doing fairly well against opponents that were better than us, but we lacked the finishing ability in the box to really pull off these big upsets regularly. Another issue was our center backs. As mentioned, unfortunately, Antonio Silva hasn't been able to reach the same heights he did under Roger Schmidt a few years ago when his name was the hottest. Otamendi, who has left the club now, is old and slow and maybe mistake prone is harsh, but was making a lot of errors. Araujo, not that great as well this season, so part of Benfica's issues would be from that, but overall, Mourinho organized Benfica's defense way better, and our ability to defend in a low block was improved by him greatly. Now, when you look at his track record, he hasn't won a trophy since 2022, and before that, it was back with United in 2017, so his playing style hasn't exactly been auto win, as it wasn't at AS Roma following 2022, as it wasn't at Fenerbahce as well. We eliminated them in Champions League qualifying, and then we said, hey, let's sign Mourinho, the guy we eliminated, just like Real Madrid eliminated us, and now they're signing Mourinho from Benfica. But at Real Madrid, could he be a hit again? I mean, I'll say this. Mourinho hasn't been at a club that has this caliber of players for a really long time. And if everything that they say about Real Madrid is true, as you heard from Gareth Bale himself, who played there, as everyone has mused and assumed, then man management is more of a priority at Real Madrid than tactics. You have to remember, when Mourinho was at Real Madrid previously, he set the record for the most goals scored in a single La Liga campaign. And yes, he had a prime Ronaldo and a very good squad behind him, but let's not act like this Real Madrid squad, when fully fit, is filled with bums in the attack. Mbappe, Vinicius, even though I am of the opinion that one of them needs to go, and they should get a striker that can play off of one of them. Arda Güler, Rodrigo, when fit, Bellingham, etc. can play football. Mourinho, with this caliber of players, is exciting and could see him reference his playing style from 15 years ago. Which is crazy to say that it was 15 years ago now. I did a short form video on this, and in that I said that Mourinho is very much of the approach of, you hate your teammate, you hate me, you, take that energy and kill your opponent. I mean, I feel like he has lost some of that piss and vinegar to an extent in his age, but he is an absolute master at harboring an us against the world kind of mentality within a squad and getting players to coexist and fight for each other in the name of trying to win at all costs. With everything that has happened at Real Madrid, with the things that Perez is spouting off saying in the press about a vendetta against Real Madrid, etc., this is Mourinho in the pocket, man. This is what Mourinho lives for. Everyone against them and ultimately getting the last laugh. And everyone hating it. Yes, it's clear that his methods aren't working as well as they did when they were a little bit more novel in the 2000s, and he could truly elevate squads to a level they weren't at before. But he's still a legendary manager and someone who had success at Real Madrid previously. If he is given the funds to build a squad in his vision and is sanctioned to sell off who he wants, which he hasn't had that kind of control with the pull and funds that Real Madrid has, hey, maybe it could work. We haven't seen him in this kind of situation for a long time. I don't think that this will be the dumpster fire that the world is expecting. You know, you saw memes saying that the people actually celebrating this signing the hardest were Benfica supporters and Barcelona supporters, assuming that this will be terrible for Real Madrid. The positives are that Mourinho has legendary status in the game. He has a resume to point to, and he will not get pushed around by certain players in the squad. The key here will be if Florentino actually backs Mourinho over the players. Should some of them start to rebel against him, as they seem to do. Because if that happens, then there's absolutely no way he can be worse than what Real Madrid experienced this season. That's my thinking, at least. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins something. Remember, Mbappe was pressing and working hard under Xabi. Certain players worked on Xabi's downfall. Then Real Madrid turned into a farce and nobody cared anymore in the squad. Mourinho could get him to work as hard as well and be that monster that he was at the beginning of the season. Relationship with Vinny, we'll see how that goes given the Prestiani stuff with Mourinho. And we'll see how Mbappe and Vinny work together. But guys, that's it from me. Champions League final preview coming very, very soon. Be well.